you have laws for a reason, right? And obviously, if you are, you know, committing a crime, and the fact is, I feel that America tends to be put on the crosshairs a bit too much and criticized very heavily about things like this. On the flip side, with other countries, when this happens, if you overstay your visa or if you're not there legally and you don't have all the documents and stuff,
Yeah, obviously.
they will deport you, detain you, etc.
It's
Like
like that in
it's no
Europe.
joke.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. There's been the LA riots. Nope. Not the Los Angeles riots of 1992, of which maybe you may not remember, which
Los Angeles.
those erupted primarily due to the acquittal of 4 LAPD officers on April 29, 1992, in the brutal beating of Rodney King, who was a black motorist, and that these are different riots now in the United States of America. The catalyst of all of this were the ICE, and the ICE are obviously the Immigration Control Enforcement Agency. There were ICE raids on June the 6th, and this
So
was
here,
this was
sorry to interrupt, but it's mainly about like Mexicans who might have overstayed their visa.
Not only, actually, that's the point here, right?
Or they could
Not
be like
only
completely illegal from the get-go, like
they're either illegal or, I mean, as we've reported already before, which you brought up, like Germans and British and stuff who have overstayed their visas have been taken by the authorities, right? Anyway, there were ICE raids conducted and coordinated. These were raids across several LA sites, including the Fashion District, Westlake, and a Home Depot, arresting around 44 to 118 individuals suspected of immigration violations. This is now because of the new, the new immigration policy pushed by Trump's administration and Rubio. These operations sparked immediate protests by community members, including arrests and clashes. There was escalation and violence at the Westlake Home Depot. Demonstrators confronted ICE agents throwing concrete chunks and prompting authorities to deploy tear gas, flashbangs, and declare an unlawful assembly by around 7:51 p.m. on June 6th. There was looting, obviously, vandalism, and confrontations with police and federal agents in downtown LA. President Trump deployed about 2,000 National Guard troops and 700 Marines. This was between June the 7th and 9th. The first active duty federal force in LA since the LA riots in 1992, which further intensified tensions. Mayor Karen Bass of LA responded with an 8 p.m. curfew and reported ICE operations inside emergency rooms and shelters. Protests
Let me pause you for a second.
Yep.
So yeah, in Trump's first term, he got people out of Afghanistan. So a lot of Marines came home. And now,
not all, because there was the whole shit show of Biden, remember, with that pull out of Afghanistan.
Yeah, what I wanted to say is that the Marines
the Marines being brought.
Now they're brought in to like control the riots.
I get it now.
Like they were in war over there, but now they're kind of in war at home.
They're probably thinking this is madness, right? But a lot of Marines, well, I don't want to speak on behalf of all Marines or anyone like that, but I do know that quite a few of some people in the armed forces, they do kind of side more with the Trump administration to some degree. I don't want to speak on behalf of all because I know that there's probably also critics amongst them. But anyway, so there were curfews. The protests spread to cities like San Francisco and Minneapolis, even to Texas, which we have a clip of. So there has been political and legal backlash, including California suing over National Guard deployment and Senate Republicans probing immigrant advocacy groups for alleged support of the unrest. So LA witnessed over 80 arrests and intense clashes between protesters and various forces, LAPD, troopers, ICE, National Guard, with accusations flying over unauthorized force and politicization from both sides. The bottom line here is that the riots erupted in direct response to the aggressive ICE immigration raids from June the 6th. And these are what ignited the protests and the riots, which grew very violent over the last few days. And the police deployed curfews and federal forces intervened, escalating tensions and sparking widespread civil unrest and political backlash at the moment. My view of this is like, I try not to take too much of a hard stance, because my view is kind of like, I don't know the full information. I do understand. One thing is this, is like, one thing I am clear about is like, I believe that, you know, you have laws for a reason, right? And obviously, if you are, you know, committing a crime, and the fact is, I feel that, again, I do feel that America tends to be put on the crosshairs a bit too much and criticized very heavily about things like this. But the irony is, I know for a fact that on the flip side, with other countries, when this happens, if you overstay your visa, or if you're not there legally and you don't have all the documents and stuff,
obviously,
they will deport you. They will detain you, etc.
it's like that in
it's
Europe.
no joke.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah, and also overseas, right? Like
just
in
like go
Asia.
from one country to another without paperwork. I mean, what do you expect?
My view is like, there's laws for a reason, and you know, I get it. Not everybody's bad. I think obviously people have it tough. People are looking for a better opportunity. People, and I get that, and I really do understand. And I think that's why there's always been an argument for like asylum seeking. And I fundamentally believe like that policy in itself has been also wrongfully overblown and bloated with bureaucracy and,
honest, it's
foolishness
for people,
from incompetency.
It's not just for people escaping from war. It's also people in poverty, like who want a better life.
It's like becoming more tricky, though. It's becoming tricky. But I do get that, like, again, like what we mentioned before, like you do not have enough infrastructure or services to provide for everybody. And also you have to take accountability for like helping out the people, the local, you know, your own local population, your own native population. I say native, I'm not talking about race here. I'm talking about everybody who's literally like, you know, living there. That's what I mean by native population, right? And it's not about race. It's literally just about like, you know, black, white, whatever, in that country who are legitimately there, right? And there's already a lot of issues, right? And I just feel also that there's, you know, again, my motto is always lead by example, and I think there's a humane way to go across this. Obviously, with horrible perpetrators of crimes, you know, like gangbangers and criminals and stuff. Yeah, you shouldn't show. You know, you don't need to. But this is a case where you're, you know, from what I've seen, at least to some extent, it's this is some raw footage of the chaos. I also don't think this is right. I don't think this really showcases. Yeah, I don't think rioting also is right. I don't think. I'm not saying that the aggressive takedown of many of these immigrants, illegal immigrants, is necessarily, you know, you need to have an equal amount of the force should be, you know, humane to some extent. You understand what I'm saying? If they're criminals, then sure, I'll take them down and, you know, pack them up. But the thing is, okay, you've overstayed your visa. You don't have to act so aggressively and stuff. Like, you don't know this person's
or entitled, to be honest. Like,
and this, in my view, also, like all these protests and stuff, I get it. You should protest. I think you have peaceful assembly and protests should be fine. But, you know, destroying public property and all this other stuff, it's not helping anybody. It's not helping the message, in my view. So we have coverage from two outlets, which I want to react to, because now we have what is considered to be, I would say, maybe more liberal left-wing outlet, which is CNN. Let's listen to how they covered this. I guess someone didn't like our take because they dropped out.
Protests over immigration raids have led to arrests in both Los Angeles and San Francisco. Cars were set on fire, flashbangs and tear gas were used to disperse crowds.
So not mostly peaceful.
Shut down.
Fiery, but mostly peaceful. At least they didn't do that.
This morning marks the fourth day of protests. You're seeing some of those self-driving cars on fire. Right now, all of downtown LA has been declared.
It's still.
She said self-driving cars. Is that Teslas?
Possibly, I guess. Or there's that. I think there's that Chinese export too. I forget the name of it. It's It's the other one. It's pretty famous in China right now. But anyway,
an unlawful assembly area. President Trump called up the National Guard to protect federal personnel and property.
Horses.
It's the first time a president has done this without a state's request or consent in about 60 years.
60 years.
Are you prepared to invoke the Insurrection Act?
Depends on whether or not there's an insurrection.
Valid.
No, but you have violent people, and we're not going to let them get away with it. I think that you're going to see some very...
This is so dumb because, I'll give it to CNN. They covered at least the beginning. Truthfully, they did say like fiery, but mostly peaceful.
Did you notice they cut it there?
Yeah, I did. It's edited, obviously, But the thing is, they immediately want to go to the insurrection thing, and I know why they're doing this, because they're trying to like reframe this back to the whole January the 6th thing, who was a whole debacle. Which, by the way, my take of January the 6th was not an insurrection. People don't understand what insurrection is, for Christ's sake. This is not an insurrection either.
Yeah.
I do believe that the president has the authority to call in the National Guard, even without the state's permission, because if they see a case of concern,
civil unrest.
Well, not
like
civil.
The purge.
I mean, it's like we're talking about fire bombs and fires and destruction. Like, I think they have the right to call in the National Guard to restore order, because there's people living there. There's other people living there. You have to take into account. Yeah.
Like, what if our families were there, or like grannies and kids, and
I know people there,
like normal people.
I'm sure they
even
don't
if
want.
we
Yeah.
were there. Even
I
if we were there, we can't even cross the road. There's like people throwing.
You shouldn't have to wait for the state to request it, because this is, again, it's the incompetency. Like the three planks of a government, in my opinion, the main planks that they should focus on is always like defending the nation, law and order, maintaining law and order and the Constitution, or whatever the heck it is, and also managing and balancing the budget or the economy. That's it. They shouldn't do anything else. So this obviously this falls into the jurisdiction, in my opinion, of law and order, and also defense.
Yeah.
So anyway,
check out this car. There's like nothing left of it.
But let's see, like, how I want to see how they discuss this. Like, I could go
what
back
Trump
to the
said.
Yeah. Let's go. Keep going.
Violent people, and we're not going to let them get away with it. I think that you're going to see some very strong law and order.
500 active duty Marines are also
So tragic.
prepared to
Law
deploy.
and
The
order.
entire National Guard situation is setting up a showdown with California's governor. He claims the president is putting fuel on the fire.
No, I
The mayor of
disagree.
Los Angeles accused the president of being heavy-handed.
Heavy-handed for like upholding the law,
Perhaps the ICE agents who were conducting their business, I don't know, were being too heavy-handed with a lot of these illegal immigrants. Perhaps, and thus the reason for the protesting. Perhaps, right? That's warranted.
Trump wasn't.
But I think calling in the National Guard after like people are like blowing up cars and God knows what and destroying stuff, that's not heavy-handed. Like, you want to live in a Mad Max world? Be my guest, but I don't. And I think I can speak for the majority of other people who just want peace and calm. Like, don't get me wrong, protest and do your thing, but don't start destroying and looting and vandalizing. Nobody wants that. I'm sorry. That's just the common sense perspective here. So that's not heavy-handed. Go ahead.
When you raid Home Depot and workplaces, when you tear parents and children apart, and when you run armored caravans through our streets, you cause fear and you cause panic.
For every single minute that we were here resisting against the Border Patrol, that was time that they were not out deporting people in our community.
Okay, I get that. I get that argument. I get that argument. I can understand that. I can understand, like, again, we were talking about, was it heavy-handed, how the border agency was conducting their raids. Raids are never, I mean, I'm not going to lie, raids of any sort are never fun. It's horrible.
What are they supposed to do? Like, be nice and enter the house and the other guy just runs off? Or
I don't know, but I think like this has always been an issue of contention in the United States for the longest time, for decades right now. The whole illegal immigration situation. It's been a complete disaster. But I do get where people are coming from protesting this, because this is horrible to see. Like, you don't want to be like in Home Depot or whatever the equivalent is in whatever country you are, and then you see like a bunch of like these like bulked up guys running in and dragging a person away from a family. It's a horrible thing to see. I'm not gonna lie, that is horrible. Like I said, if they're criminals, they're criminals, right? And I know that people are going to argue and say, but Bird, they are criminals because they're illegal. Yeah, I'm
They
talking
don't
about
have that
criminals.
paperwork.
I'm talking about violent criminals. I'm talking about, like, people who have actually, like, committed actual horrible,
Like
harmful
drug
crimes.
dealings or murders or
Trafficking, exactly. Gangbangers.
stuff like that. Yeah.
If this person's illegal, okay, they're illegal, but there's a way to do it, right? Let's try to be a bit more humane. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. So I do
If
get the
it's possible.
protesters. I do get where the protesters are coming from. So what is this?
Urging
What is
LA's police chief to bring in the troops right now. Police say at least 27 people were arrested Sunday, most of those on the 101 freeway that police shut down. They say protesters threw things onto the road and damaged police cars. Also overnight, a large crowd.
To be honest, you know what? I think a lot of these people aren't there legally. Like, I
Who?
understand they
Who, the
come from like
protesters? The protesters, or
well, I don't know, the illegal immigrants.
right?
Like, I understand they want a better life for themselves, but nothing's gonna come out of these riots.
No, I honestly, I've always said I don't think rioting ever solves anything. If you want to have a revolution, then go for it. But revolution is a different type of scenario altogether. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So okay. Anyway,
was
but can we get to
CNN.
like the commentary where they're talking? Let's forward to like when they're. I'm interested to see how they. Here we go. Let's see how they.
This is a very perilous moment because what we're seeing here is a fight that President Trump wants to have.
Meaning with
Trump
blue
wants to
states.
have the
With
fight.
blue states, about immigration, about the rule of law and the way that he views it, and also using
Pause.
the threat of
That
military.
is so again. This
He's
is
using the rule of law for what? For going against this violence on the road?
I disagree.
They said
with
they were
this,
throwing
yeah.
concrete blocks and bricks at cars.
Well, but the
whatnot.
argument here is erroneous from the onset because again, I hate to break it to you, it doesn't matter, but overstaying or entering a country illegally is a crime as well. It's illegal, and therefore the rule of law applies. You can't just say. So that what she just said is nonsense, in my opinion, in that regard. That's just nonsense. That's just ridiculous. Any other country, if this happens, doesn't matter. Without a doubt, it's like, whoops, you're out. No, I'm sorry. I would love to enter Switzerland illegally. I want to go to Switzerland. I can't. I got to marry a Swiss person or something. But if I go to Switzerland, oops, they're going to detain me and deport me. That's how it is. I can't enter there legally. I can't enter there illegally and then just live there, and then live off the services and everything. I can't. That's just the way it is. That's the reality, folks. However, I'm not saying that these people should be treated inhumanely, especially those you need to have. Oh, it's just I don't know why it's so difficult for just people to have level-headedness in how to deal with certain things, like differentiating. Obviously you have like hardened criminals and stuff like we just said, right? Anyway, sorry, carry on.
Let me just point out that okay, we have a lot of people like waving Mexican flags and whatnot, but
I don't get that either.
Let's go straight to the topic here. We have immigrants, illegal immigrants or immigrants in the
They're
States.
being rounded up. They're being rounded up.
From Mexico, and I understand, Mexico is probably a beautiful country with a lot of problems, and either
it has a lot of problems,
unemployment and stuff like that. So you're waving a Mexican flag, but you don't want to be there, but you want to be in America, but you're not waving an American flag.
Okay.
If you don't want to be there, you can move.
I see the argument. I see the argument.
It's a bit weird. It's like
it is.
paradox.
I feel like the reason they're doing it though is kind of like more of a cultural pride thing. Cultural pride thing to say like, screw the American system. It's unfair. Like No, I know. I don't think it's necessary. So I know that a lot of conservative media look at this and they automatically just say like, well, you don't want to be here, well, then go back to your country if you're waving the flag. I don't see it so much as that necessarily. I feel like I get it where they're coming from though, and it's valid, their criticism on this. However, I feel like it's more of like a protest thing to just say like, I am Mexican, I'm Mexican, and they're waving the flag kind of in a way of like cultural, not so much of, because just because someone waves the flag is a representation of the culture. Like, I'll give you an example. Like,
It's true.
you can be proud of where you come from without having to like say that you accept the system, or like that's what I always got upset about, and why a lot of Americans who travel abroad,
why can't you wave a flag of like any country and stuff? Like, why can't you like
right? And I think they're just doing it in protest by saying I'm Mexican, and like it's kind of like more of a solidarity thing, like how people are waving the Palestinian flag or the Israeli flag. You know what I'm saying? That's how I see it. I think it's contentious. It's trying to rile people up sometimes, and I do understand the criticism from the conservative side when they say like, well, then go back to your country. But at the same time, it's like from the conservative side, they want to say like, well, I want to wave the American flag when I want, and it's like, yeah, sure, you can as well. I think it's okay. I don't look at it as insulting as maybe some people do. Because I get
some people might misrepresent this and think that because they're waving the Mexican flag, that they're not for the American flag. It's not. It doesn't have to be like that.
It's a protest because it's like when you put the American flag upside down by some patriots, right? Or patriots, whatever. They'll do that, and then people say you should never do that, and it's like, well, I don't agree with the system because it's upside down. So you have Americans, right? American people, they're not going to wave the German flag or the Spanish flag.
In fact, I saw a recent clip.
So
I saw a clip of Trump recently, and he basically said that whoever is caught like destroying the American flag,
I saw
it was a suggestion of his, like, should go to jail for a year.
Yeah, well, again, in some countries you can get penalized for desecrating the national flag.
Probably most countries.
Actually, quite a few. That's what people don't realize. So him saying that is not something completely like outlandish or new.
Out of the blue,
The argument for that is the desecration or destruction of the American flag is seen, this is the problem again, like with the way everything is being interpreted from the Constitution. But I personally don't think it is a representation of freedom of expression, because it's a physical thing, and freedom of expression is verbal or literal, right? As in literal, as in writing, written, or thoughts, right? It's not a physical manifestation of something, though you could argue art. So I don't know. This is where it gets a bit weird. And so the argument is like, should it be allowed? Should it not be allowed? The problem is, it's, I don't know. I just feel like there should be, well, I'm kind of a big upholder of like social decorum and like having some sort of like social norms that should be upheld in general. And I think it should be okay to have whatever views and what, as long as they don't, they're not perpetuating physical harm. It's like that whole argument of like crying out fire in the movie theater, right? But if I burn a flag in my for a movie, right, or in my home or something, I should be allowed to do whatever. Like privacy, right? That's the other thing, right? I'm a big upholder of private rights, right? So I just think it really depends the context. That's the thing. I think it really depends.
Definitely.
So, I don't know. That's where I stand on that. So.
Shall we move on to Sky News to like see a contrast?
I just want to see more about their comment. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If you think that we've done enough. Yeah. Okay. We've done enough of that. Let's now see the alternative. Sky News Australia, which is the more conservative right-wing perspective.
It's a bit more extreme than Sky News in Europe.
Scenes that look almost like a civil war in America.
Okay, that's a bit
extreme. When Donald Trump was first elected president, you had American cities being torched by rioters, by anarchists and the hard left, and all encouraged by anti-Democrat or anti-Trump Democrat.
Straight away showing the giant fires.
Exploiting race resentments after
Okay, so again, so it's interesting that the CNN, for the first time, by the way, because CNN tends to be even more biased than usual, but this time they, at least in the beginning, covered it appropriately, I would say, for a report. But in this case, it's already like
civil war. They're on the
anti-democratic.
break of a civil war. You see like the whole screen like covered in fire.
This is total rage bait. It's oh my God, I cannot believe this civil war. Tim Pool is getting all like Pool is getting a boner right now. It's like civil war.
Jeez.
Oh God. Okay.
All right. Let's see what else.
By the way, no shade on Tim Pool. By the way,
they were shot at with commercial quality fireworks, potentially lethal, of course. The riders blocked traffic, of course. They set cars alight. And what I thought was really telling is that
fireworks can be lethal, but it's just like potentially lethal. But I mean, come on,
like fireworks to these things, like rockets.
Well, they were using them as weapons, but I mean, I just love the way that they're like, come on, the police they have like protection and stuff and stuff, and obviously the firework is hardly going to do that much damage. But okay, yes, they can be used as weapons, yeah, for sure.
In the crowd, there was attacking police, and the National Guard waved Mexican flags.
So here we go.
There was some sort of invading foreign army, and they chanted slogans in Spanish.
Can you go back? I can translate that. I'm trying to understand what they're saying.
United or something, right? Unido.
A little louder so I can hear.
Slogans in Spanish. Others wore Palestine.
It's just some anthem of like saying how we should stay united or something. I think I couldn't catch all of it, but it's not like a war chant or something. Yeah, anyway.
To be honest, California has like loads of like Mexicans, and Spanish is a second language, and probably a lot of people know it.
Central Americans, living in the southern part of California.
And the same would also apply like on the east side of the states, like Miami, because of the
Caribbean people like Cubans and Puerto Ricans and
exactly. So it's not like shocking they're saying anything in Spanish because people kind of live together over there.
Well, the second language technically in the United States is Spanish. Like a lot of people tend to speak Spanish right now because
and also all of South America and Central America.
I mean,
like,
it is a second language in the United States of America. Contrary to like what some may say, it is like especially around the southern areas, like you just mentioned, right? From California to like the southeast, which is like Florida and other parts. So
But like Florida, it has a lot of like people from Cuba and also like Guatemala and
not only also New York. You'd be surprised, but New York City is actually a big Spanish community, and
pretty interesting.
Let's keep going.
Palestinian kafirs and came masked. Almost like Hamas figures, like they were looking for trouble.
So threatening.
Some would call them anarchists or by any other variety of names, but they're people that we run across routinely city to city, and this is what they do.
And
well, I do agree
Democrat
to the point that you do have
saying,
troublemakers always, every time, and that's for sure. Like you have people who are just looking for trouble, who want to cause vandalism, who want to loot and stuff, and then you have other people who actually legitimately want to protest, and it gets sort of swept up in the whole thing. I think that's what, again, differentiating, making a distinction. Very hard. But anyway.
And unfortunately, like for the peaceful protesters, you get the people causing trouble and looting, which doesn't do them any favors.
But that's what gets the rage bait, right? Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh no to the violence, yet still blaming Trump for calling in the National Guard, blaming him, saying he'd provoked the violence deliberately to make himself.
What a scene. I mean, look at them. It looks like something out of...
It's nuts. I mean, this was also happening in Europe, by the way. This is Northern Ireland and Spain.
It's crazy.
France.
Check out all their gear. It's like completely
these are riot.
covered.
This is riot and National Guard,
Looked tough. Trump wasn't backing off.
You have violent people, and we're not going to let them get away with it. If we see danger to our country and to our citizens, we'll be very, very strong in terms of law and order. It's about
I think that's acceptable. I think that is 100% acceptable. Like, you don't have to like Trump, but I honestly, like, what he said there wasn't anything outrageous. It is acceptable. Like, when you're nothing against protesting or rallying or peaceful assembly or whatever. It's about the vandalization, the looting, the destruction of property, and all this stuff. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Can we see like a scene where
This guy comes in, but yeah, okay.
or like with a reporter who gets shot by rubber bullet?
All right, this became a whole thing. Sorry.
Bullets at protesters, moving them on through the heart of LA.
We got this guy here.
You just shut the You okay?
Now, I saw Lauren Tomasi then appear on the
Yeah, I don't
channel.
need to know the response. I mean, I'm gonna say that's horrible, obviously, to occur. Like any journalist or anything in the line of fire. But the thing is this:
right.
like, you kind of accept that you're throwing yourself in the line of fire.
Yeah, that's for sure. You're putting yourself in danger.
There have been journalists who died. Okay, because
like
in
war journalists must be like the worst thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, to make a big thing about this, like, I'm sorry, it's a bloody riot. What do you expect? You're not going to be like, it's not a slumber party pillow fight.
That's
like,
for sure.
Like the guys say, like, you just shot the reporter. It's like, yeah, it's a stray. Like, what do you expect? It's chaos, dude. It's chaos. Sometimes something's going to go stray. It's going to happen. Like, I'm not saying it's good, but it happens. And there's been other journalists and reporters that have had worse. They've died. They've lost their lives, unfortunately. It happens. Yeah. But they knew what they were getting involved in. Like, oh, I'm just going to stroll into a riot. What do you think is going to happen? Like, sorry.
So here are some scenes of like looting in LA, like looting like the Apple stores.
I think this is also kind of silly. This is exactly what I voted for. First of all, here's the thing. Here's the thing, folks. This is what you voted for? You voted for like just like craziness, where when it happens, then there's like enforcers coming in and smashing it. I get it. They should. But I didn't vote for that. I voted for peace. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to even see this. Like, there's this unfortunate, and it's both on the left and the right, because I've seen it on both sides, right? Like, and now I'm seeing it push back more on the right, right? We're gonna see some reactions now from X, right? But the thing is, it's like the moment it's like one side has the upper hand, right? And there's like brutal force and stuff. They're like, yeah, that's what I voted for. And I'm just like, that's not a good look. I don't like it. It's horrible. Don't get me wrong. If you're fucking around, you should find out, right?
Find out, yeah.
But the point I'm trying to make is that I didn't vote for that. I don't want to see that. Like, why does it have to get to that point in the first place? You know, shouldn't even get to that point. There's actually a thing where you could prevent it from getting to this point. It's called preventative measures, believe it or not. Something that we've lost track of. We don't try to prevent things anymore. We just let things escalate, and then we send in the National Guard and the Army to clean it up, and then we, commiserate and go, oh, how could, it's so tiresome. Anyway, let's have a look at the reactions.
What has this looting got to do with?
No, it has nothing to do. It's just
the immigration issue.
No. These are just opportunists. It's all, dude. They'll loot for any opportunity. If there's a blackout, electrical blackout, there's looting. If a football team loses, there's looting. It doesn't matter. It's just stupid. It doesn't actually have any reference to do with the actual topic at hand, right? It's just idiots out there. Alarms blaring on multiple iPhones that were taken from Apple Store in downtown LA. Yeah, well, there you go.
They're saying that these phones are tracked and to return them anyway.
I mean, they are. It's easy to track. I mean, looting. Yeah, you see, that's the focus now. Everybody's focusing on that, and then that takes away from, and then that becomes the narrative, right, from one side. That's the problem, right? So, and that's why I do sympathize to some degree. The other people on the other side are just, well, that's again. Why are you touching the gun?
Why are you going for the gun? Like, are you serious? You really expect them to like?
Unfortunately, you do that in any other country, you're going to get even worse, actually, because that is actually so in the United States, in the United States, that would be considered assault, because the moment you touch,
lucky he wasn't shot.
Yeah. So this is a Mexican American calls out the protesters in Los Angeles, and he says, "Yeah, go on, let me play it."
Do you have sound here?
So let me get this straight, just so I could clarify it. You don't want to go back to Mexico. You're protesting to stay away from Mexico, but you're waving the Mexican flag and you're waving it with pride. You're waving it in the United States, the country you're trying to stay in, the country you don't want to leave, but yet you're waving the Mexican flag with pride. Okay. That seems normal to you. That seems logical.
Again,
that's not
I get the argument, but again, I think we kind of hashed this out. Right? Okay, this is funny. So this is Representative Maxwell.
We are advocating peaceful protest.
Yeah.
Wait, can you?
Should I rewind it?
Can I just see the text above first? What is it saying?
Yeah, of course.
So this is Representative Maxine Waters, who says Americans shouldn't rely on their own eyes, says there was no violence at the Los Angeles riots. Okay, well, obviously there was. Again, she's a bit delulu.
Yeah, she's like delusional or something.
She said
like
some
they live
crazy
on another
things
planet.
Yeah.
Saying like nothing was happening in LA. I mean,
and even those who were out of step with what we are advocating, peaceful protest, did not create any violence. Nobody was shot.
So,
nobody was killed. Get it?
I'm trying to be rational here.
Yeah.
Okay, she is Delulu usually, but what she's saying is not entirely wrong. I do believe, fundamentally, like I said, you need to make a distinction. There were some people there who are obviously nonviolent, and then there's obviously the other.
Some people were peaceful protesters, and everybody else causes.
But the problem is this as well. What people don't understand is that the moment the vibe changes, doesn't matter if you're a peaceful protester or not, you can get like wrapped into the whole thing. You understand? Because a long time ago,
or not, you can get caught up.
Long time ago, I was involved in these peaceful protests and stuff, and I saw how it turned like that. It didn't matter. You get riled up and wrapped up, and next thing you know, you could be
just
like
one moment.
Yeah. So that's the trouble with this, because this is what I mean about preventative measures, because that's why you need to have crowd control early on, because the mob can escalate and get out of control. Even if you have the best intentions, and you're not one of these people, you can just get carried away. And next thing you know, you're like trying to bend down the street pole or something and go crazy. I don't know.
Yeah. So if LA wasn't bad enough, like riots have started in Texas as well.
Yeah, because now they're expanding. They're going.
It's like spreading. Yeah.
Down from any of these cases. In fact, Homeland Security Secretary tonight on Fox saying they're going to arrest and charge protesters who are assaulting officers. So this is happening in real time, and it is the clash also, Caitlin, of immigration and law and order, two of the main issues of President Trump, all coalescing in this moment as people.
The issues of President Trump. Okay.
I guess. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Now, again, I think maybe this immigration act or policy is a bit heavy-handed. I would agree, maybe, because if you're literally going into these department stores and dragging certain people away from their loved ones, okay, that's not cool. And also, just me,
crazy.
Even though I recognize being an illegal is wrong, right? I still don't like seeing that. Like, I don't want to be on the street seeing fucking paratroopers show up and dragging people away from their kids.
Oh,
that's crazy.
Terrible.
That is nuts. Like, there's a way to do things. That's all I'm saying. There's a way to do things, and I just don't think. And that's why I can sympathize with some of the protesters in relation to this. And
yeah,
it's just a question about being a bit more humane. That's all. It's like you can't put everybody in the same category. I also get it's complicated, right? Because everything is just bunched up into the. Anyway, there you go.
They're saying that these phones are tracked and to return them anyway.
I mean, they are. It's easy to track. I mean, looting. Yeah. You see, that's the focus now. Everybody's focusing on that. And then that takes away from, and then that becomes the narrative, right? From one side. That's the problem, right? So, and that's why I do sympathize to some degree. The other people on the other side are just, well, that's again, why are you touching the gun?
Why are you going for the gun? Like, are you serious? You really expect them to like?
Unfortunately, you do that in any other country, you're going to get even worse, actually, because that is actually so in the United States, in the United States, that would be considered assault, because the moment you touch,
lucky he wasn't shot.
Yeah. So this is a Mexican American calls out the protesters in Los Angeles, and he says, "Yeah, go on, play it."
Do you have sound here?
So let me get this straight, just so I could clarify it. You don't want to go back to Mexico, You're protesting to stay away from Mexico. But you're waving the Mexican flag and you're waving it with pride. You're waving it in the United States, the country you're trying to stay in, the country you don't want to leave. But yet you're waving the Mexican flag with pride. Okay. That seems normal to you? That seems logical?
Again,
that's not
I get the argument, but again, I think we kind of hashed this out. Right? Okay, this is funny. So this is Representative Maxwell.
We are advocating peaceful protest.
Yeah.
Wait, can you?
Should I rewind it?
Can I just see the text above first? What is it saying?
Yeah, of course.
So this is Representative Maxine Waters, who says Americans shouldn't rely on their own eyes, says there was no violence at the Los Angeles riots. Okay, well, obviously there was. Again, she's a bit delulu.
Yeah, she's like delusional or something.
She said
like
some
they live
crazy
on another
things
planet.
Yeah.
Saying like nothing was happening in LA. I mean,
and even those who were out of step with what we are advocating, peaceful protest, did not create any violence. Nobody was shot.
So,
nobody was killed. Get it?
I'm trying to be rational here.
Yeah.
Okay, she is Delulu usually, but what she's saying is not entirely wrong. I do believe, fundamentally, like I said, you need to make a distinction. There were some people there who are obviously nonviolent, and then there's obviously the other.
Some people were peaceful protesters, and everybody else causes.
But the problem is this as well. What people don't understand is that the moment the vibe changes, doesn't matter if you're a peaceful protester or not, you can get like wrapped into the whole thing. You understand? Because a long time ago,
or not, you can get caught up.
Long time ago, I was involved in these peaceful protests and stuff, and I saw how it turned like that. It didn't matter. You get riled up and wrapped up, and next thing you know, you could be
just
like
one moment.
Yeah. So that's the trouble with this, because this is what I mean about preventative measures, because that's why you need to have crowd control early on, because the mob can escalate and get out of control. Even if you have the best intentions, and you're not one of these people, you can just get carried away. And next thing you know, you're like trying to bend down the street pole or something and go crazy. I don't know.
Yeah. So if LA wasn't bad enough, like riots have started in Texas as well.
Yeah, because now they're expanding. They're going
spreading. Yeah.
Down from any of these cases. In fact, Homeland Security Secretary tonight on Fox saying they're going to arrest and charge protesters who are assaulting officers. So this is happening in real time, and it is the clash also, Caitlin, of immigration and law and order, two of the main issues of President Trump, all coalescing in this moment as people.
The issues of President Trump. Okay.
I guess. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Now, again, I think maybe this immigration act or policy is a bit heavy-handed. I would agree, maybe, because if you're literally going into these department stores and dragging certain people away from their loved ones, okay, that's not cool. And also, just me,
crazy.
Even though I recognize being an illegal is wrong, right? I still don't like seeing that. Like, I don't want to be on the street seeing fucking paratroopers show up and dragging people away from their kids.
Oh,
that's crazy.
Terrible.
That is nuts. Like, there's a way to do things. That's all I'm saying. There's a way to do things, and I just don't think. And that's why I can sympathize with some of the protesters in relation to this. And
yeah,
it's just a question about being a bit more humane. That's all. It's like you can't put everybody in the same category. I also get it's complicated, right? Because everything is just bunched up into the anyway.
This is NTV.